Okay, so now that we have a platform that we can walk on, now it's time to give it some logic. To do so, we're going to create an animation of it falling, and then get it so that when we touch the platform plays the falling platform animation. That being said, I want to make a couple of changes to our platform before we animate it. The first being is separating out the visuals from the physics. This will allow us to move the platform and show that it's about to fall without affecting the player's ability to move and jump off of it. To do so, I'm first going to select our object in the hierarchy, right click and go Unpack Prefab. This will allow us to make easy changes to the object. I'm then going to go, while having the platform selected, right click and go Create Empty. I'm then going to call this empty falling platform, and then I'm going to move it in the hierarchy and make it a parent of our platform. Now we have an empty that will hold everything about this platform. I'm then going to duplicate our platform and call the two objects Platform Visuals and Platform Collider, and then I'm going to remove the collider from the visual object and the mesh filter and mesh renderer from the collider object. Now that we have them separated, there's a couple of things I want to add. First up, I want to duplicate our collider, call it Platform Trigger, and move it up so it's sitting on top of our collider, and then set its collider to be isTrigger. I'll get into this in more detail later, but this will be used to detect whether or not a player has landed on the platform. And yes, it does need to be this far up. Another thing I want to add is a particle effect to play when this platform is crumbling. To do so, I want to come up to my hierarchy and select Effects Particle System. As I don't want to focus on this too much, I'm just going to copy my particle settings from my test build. Feel free to make your own, or just copy these settings and adjust them to fit your map. Awesome, so lastly, I just want to add some sound for when we land on the platform. To do so, I'm just going to create an empty and call it Platform Sound. I'm then going to go Add Component VRC Spatial Audio Source. Now, I want this to be heard from a pretty far distance, so I'm just going to change its far to 200. I also don't want this to sound like it's coming from the middle of an object, so I'm just going to hit this drop down and hit its near distance to be 1.8 and its volumetric radius to be 1.5. Now, we just need to say when we want this to play. Normally I'd use the awesome app Soundly for finding sounds, but I couldn't find a free sound that I liked there, so I instead grabbed a part of the audio from this video called Building Collapse Sound Effects, and I'll leave a link in the description. These guys have a bunch of free sound effects and sample packs, and I definitely recommend checking them out. Anyways, so now I have my sound file, I'm just going to drag and drop it into my audio source. Awesome, so now we have everything we need for our platform animation, so it's time to animate. To open up the animation tab, we just want to come up to Window, Animation, Animation, and then park it down here. Now with our parent object selected in the hierarchy, I'm then going to select Create. I'm then going to place this animation in our animation folder and name our animation Platform Fall. Now this is create an animation as well as create an animator on our parent game object. For this animation, I just want to hit record and select our platform visuals. Set its position to be where it is currently, and then skip to 240 and duplicate the node. Then at 300, move its z-axis to -100. So now when we play the animation, it will stay there for roughly 4 seconds before it drops down. As for our collisions, we can select our collider and animate its active state to be on when the platform is still up and off when the platform falls. The reason I toggled it instead of moving it alongside the visuals is for 2 reasons. First, it would be problematic if this was a multi-level map and you were underneath it when it falls, and second, this will mean that we're able to make the collider static and all the advantages that gives. Also, this is just a personal preference, but I'm going to make the collider toggle off slightly after the platform falls, just to give the player slightly more time. This is a common trick in game dev, and it just makes the game feel more fair when you make a last minute jump when the platform is just about to fall. Next is the trigger, which we just want to deactivate when the animation plays, as we don't want to tell the animation to play a second time. Then we have the particle, which I'm just going to make active for the whole duration of the animation, but I'm just going to make sure its emission toggles off when the platform falls. As for the sound, we just want it to toggle off when the particle stops emitting. We could/should make it fall off the platform for the best effect, but not doing so will make it easier when we go to optimize it later. Also, for an easy way to make them play when the animation starts, I'm just going to initially set them to be deactive and then immediately set them to be active again. So now if we were to playtest, we can see the animation plays with sounds and particles playing properly. That being said, the only way to tell if the platform is about to fall is via its sound and that it has a particle playing. That's not very easy to tell, so I want to add some more visuals. If we were to stop playtesting, I'm going to go to record, and I'm first going to make the platform move around before it falls. Selecting my platform visuals, I'm just going to record its default rotation at the start, and just before it falls. Then in between, I'm just going to rotate it around and make the platform look unstable. This would be horrible if this platform were to have a collider on it, as the player's jump would get cancelled out easily, hence why I separated them. The other thing I want to do is make some kind of indication as to how long the platform has until it falls. To do so, I'm going to come over to its material and change its color to white. And then by the time it falls, I want it to be much darker. And so now when I play the animation, it's both a lot easier to notice if the platform is about to fall, as well as give you some idea as to how long it has before it does. Awesome, so now that we have our falling animation, it's time to create another animation to be its default position for before it has fallen. I'm just going to copy this first node here so we know what we need to animate. I'm then going to click this drop down menu and select New Clip. I'm then going to save this in the same location and call it Platform Default. I'm then going to paste it into our previous nodes, and the only thing we really need to change is to make the trigger active so we can call the falling platform animation. Then I just want to duplicate these nodes and put them one step forward. As far as I can tell, if you don't do this, then the animation will be 1 second long, or 60 steps, instead of creating a 1 step long animation. Anyways, now that we have our animations, it's time to set up our animator. But before we do that, however, find your animations in the project window, select them, and then in the inspector, turn off looping, as we don't want these animations to loop. Once you've done that, come up to our platform's parent object and double click on its animator to open it.